Very warm welcome to all of you to the eFast India Summit, a day where we aim to bring together some of the brightest minds, boldest ideas, and biggest ambitions driving India's electric powered future. I am Shrey Sangvi from WRI India, and it's my privilege to co host today's summit.
And hello everyone, I'm Chandana K from WRI India, and it's lovely to see you all charged up here for the eFast India's third anniversary together.
We now make our way for our opening plenary, a moment to hear bold ideas, set shared priorities, and spark conversations that matter. As I call out each name, I would like for everyone to welcome our speakers with the loudest round of applause. Please welcome Dr. Hanif Qureshi, IPS, a scholar practitioner whose police service has been matched by deep policy engagement in the industrial and automobile domain, a doctorate holder and a senior IPS officer, now serving as the additional secretary at the Ministry of Heavy Industries. He blends operational leadership with technical expertise and hands-on experience driving automotive policy. Let's have our hands together for Mr. Hanif Qureshi.
We would now like to call upon Shri Sudhendu Sinha, Advisor for Infrastructure, Connectivity and Electric Mobility at NITI Aayog. An IRS veteran with over 3 decades of hands-on experience in Indian Railways, he marries field-hardened operational leadership in planning and coordination with thoughtful policy making. Let's give a warm round of applause and invite him on the stage, please.
We would now like to call on stage Dr. Ravi Pandit. He happens to be the visionary co-founder and chairman of KPIT Technologies. Let's have a loud round of applause for him.
Now I invite Mr. Madhav Pai, CEO of WRI India, on the stage, please. Yes.
Please welcome Mr. Prashant Banerjee, the veteran industry leader who today serves as the executive director of CIAM and has decades of technical and regulatory experience in the automotive sector.
Now we invite Felipe. Hello, yeah. Now we invite Felipe Ramirez, the Director of Urban Mobility for WRI Ross Center, on the stage, please. A big round of applause.
And lastly, we would like to welcome Dr. Christoph Wolf, an international logistics and sustainability expert who has led the Smart Freight Center since 2022. Let's have a loud round of applause. Thank you. We would now like to invite Mr. Pawan Malukutla, the Executive Program Director for Integrated Transport, Clean Air and Hydrogen at WRI India. He is responsible for providing strategic direction and implementing the overarching objectives. Let's have a loud round of applause for Mr. Pawan Malukutla.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to eFast Summit 3.0. It's a privilege to be here with all the industry partners, government leaders, and we have actually reached kind of a milestone in the whole decarbonizing the freight sector. So I just wanted to take a moment under the able leadership of Mr. Sudhendu Sinha, advisor NITI Aayog. The platform has expanded to 24 knowledge partners and 95 industry partners coming together on eFast, which is a huge milestone for bringing everyone together to look at one mission of decarbonizing the freight sector. I also wanted to take a moment to heartfully thank Dr. Hanif Qureshi. I call him the EV man of India because without him, the electrification journey in India would not have been possible. Under his able guidance, we have seen number of schemes that have been launched, including the recently PM E-Drive scheme, which focuses on truck electrification. And as you all aware, last month, the truck guidelines were also launched. So this is a historical moment. And thank you, Dr. Hanif Qureshi, for your able guidance and support to this eFast platform. So with that, I welcome Dr. Prashant Banerjee, Felipe, who is our Global Director for Urban Mobility Program. He was also the Transport Secretary of Bogota, Colombia, under whose leadership he actually designed the famous Transmilenio BRT systems. And inspired, sir, I also wanted to share that based on the eFast platform that was launched in India, a platform was launched calling eFast Brazil also. And now the plan is to take this conversation in Latin America. So in a way where India is leading this global South conversation, inspiring even in Latin America, the whole truck electrification and the overall electrification journey. So with that, welcome you all for this session and look forward to a wonderful conversation throughout the day. And thank you all for supporting this EFAST 3.0 initiative. Thank you.
We would now like to call upon Sri Sudhendu Sinha for his introductory welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. A very warm good morning to each one of you. And it's really a great pleasure. It's true honor that we are celebrating third anniversary of EFAST. 2022, in the month of September, we had the first convention that was at Claridge's, if I recollect rightly. And it was very difficult at that time to pull in people. So, with a lot of difficulty, 4 think tanks finally, 4 knowledge partners, we could find them to be together. And very few, a handful of industry partners. Because that was the time when probably this much of belief was not there that someday maybe that we will be going in for electrification of heavy duty freight vehicles. By that time, buses was in mainstream conversation. Truck was nowhere there. So it was our responsibility to ensure that, it takes on. And of course, from the ground floor of Claridge's, we have moved on to the second floor of India Habitat Center. This itself shows that we are gaining heights. And from 4 to 24, and what a fabulous number of industry players. So what is happening is that with the help of PM E-Drive, where truck conversation was brought into, with the help of some of the very important logistic players, and I do find their presence here, some of the very respected, reputed OEMs who did not decide to wait on the wings, and rather they decided that it is time for them to get into the stream of, electric. I know that what a massive challenge it would have been initially to create that supply chain amidst so much of, uncertainties around. So that is what these people have done. And finally, to the users also, yes, because users also reposed trust, and they said that, okay, we give you opportunity to deploy, let's say, a handful only, maybe 50 kind of trucks, and that is how it started. Now this is gradually snowballing. So I always say that one truck in its lifetime of 10 years, let's say, it consumes equivalent of 3 crore rupees of diesel. So this is the equivalent. I mean, it is a very, very conservative kind of movement that I am visualizing. So if we are able to transform, let's say, 10,000 trucks, it simply means that 30,000 crores of gasoline has been saved, on which otherwise the country would have our important, so precious foreign exchange would have had to be spent. So that is how, that is the advantage of this truck electrification. This is now a mainstream conversation. Gradually, I am also watching that this conversation is further fueling, and it is leading to other conversations. Conversations such as, decarbonizing of the construction sites. So, zero-emission construction sites. Another conversation that I'm watching is that in the mining areas, how can mines where, all the huge kind of, gasoline consumers and guzzlers of, emitters of multiple pollutants, they are the ones, so how are they to be transformed? So I'm sure that as we say that it is not only trucks, it is a new vehicle segments, maybe that as we move on, they will also be coming into the conversation, and gradually we should be able to achieve it. So thanks to WRI, thanks to MHI, thanks to MOP, Dheeraj is there, and to all the industry leaders, I can recognize each one of you and I can name them. Abhijit Sinha is right there. Yash is there with his Ashok Leyland. They have evolved tippers that itself is going to bring about a lot of change. Karni is there. Their team is now They are getting into select OD pairs in which the vehicles will be run, and they are into experimental phase as of now. But I'm sure that all these experiments, they are further reinforcing the confidence. As we move on, the numbers will keep on increasing. So if I just recollect the target of the last year, and as I always say, that this is not the NITI's event, it is just because you give us respect and you put our logo in the top. So basically, it's an industry event. So what we do is that we ask you to make a commitment. And of course, Sharvari is here to hold on, to ensure that she is the one who holds you on to your commitment and reminds you. So what my visualization is that maybe in next 1 year, if we are able to at least create a solid commitment. When I say commitment, not only just a kind of, a loose one. A commitment is where the finance has been committed, where the logistic player is involved, where the user also commits. So if we are able to commit, say, let's say 10,000 vehicles, and out of them, if let's say in this financial year, if we are able to position close to 2,000 of them, 2,000 up and running, then I would say that yes, that's a big milestone that we have achieved, because now the next step will be a bigger step. So if I draw an analogy from the buses sector, what was the initial target? Initial target was 5,000. So once we broke that 5,000 target, now the next step is 10,000. So you know that as of now, the bid is live for 10,900 vehicles. So that is how we are going on. Congratulations to each one of you, because without you, it would not have been possible. I know that this is the community that is committed to electric mobility, that is committed to decarbonization of heavy duty freight, and that is why eFast is where it is. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your guidance, sir. As next steps to set the context, we would now like to invite Mr. Madhav Pai from WRI India to set the context for the eFast Summit. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Warm welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Also allowing us to host eFast as part of our annual event Connect Karo. So thank you very much for that. I think a lot has been said about the growth from a few partners to 120 partners. I think Mr. Sudhendu Sinha also spoke about the focus on a few corridors. So I think also on the recently launched report by NITI Aayog, the idea of concentrating on a few geographies. And I think, I think that as a strategy. The other thing is clearly because the demand will be high, I think this coordination with DISCOMs and, figuring out how to get power to these places is an important hurdle also to overcome as we focus on these corridors. So I think really figuring out the business models on the charging infrastructure side will also sort of evolve through this case. But I think eventually, I think we all know that it is the financing of these trucks is what will decide how we really scale on this. And I think that's where, as we look at as we create these kind of platforms, I think the initial aim is to do convening, to really do dialogue. But I think we have pretty much reached the end of that stage. I think really the challenge now is how we take this from convening to contracting, and what is the role that a platform like this can play in terms of really being able to enable a few things at the sort of value chain or in sort of almost like infrastructure level, right? How do we create standards if there were any? How do we, enable creating the financing and support, blending of financing if that is required? How do we bring, I know that, several conversations that we've had also, there are a lot of sort of investors in renewable energy infrastructure who are willing to bring, say, $50 million of equity investment if there is 18 to 20% return. Now, how do we work with these to help them blend this with certain other initiatives to be able to really make financing available? I think this is really the moment, I think, in this eFast journey, is to focus on a few of these things that are in sort of at the ecosystem level And hopefully, I think with this convening and will help us also build that work plan for the next 12 to 24 months, where we can work on these crucial items that can actually put us on that path of that 10,000 trucks. So with that, I mean, for me, I think the focus of today has to be really to figure out what we do as a collective over the next 12 to 24 months, and maybe identify 2 or 3 things that will help us move on this agenda very, very rapidly. So again, thank you. I think it's been an honor to be able to convene also so many partners, and we really look forward to making significant strides in this sort of hard to abate sector of trucks. So thank you very much, and welcome again to everyone.
Thank you, Madhav, for those wise words. We would now like to have Dr. Christoph Wolf, the CEO of Smart Freight Center, come with us and share his thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting us. Very excited to be here. I want to applaud NITI Aayog for great leadership, and the report that came out a few weeks ago, I think, is a milestone in clarity and in indicating what the path forward is. I'd like to thank WRI for great partnership in this, and all the other fellow NGOs that we've been working with Shakti Foundation supporting us. So this is great. I picked up the word from Madhav from convening to contracting. Actually, earlier in the year, we had our Smart Freight Week summit with our global summit with 1,000 participants. We always have a dedicated India session, yeah. And this year we had colleagues from Ultratech, Mr. Mishra from TCIL, from Terry, and others coming over actually on site and interacting with many others, and others coming in online. So we had I think we could show to the world that India is moving on electric mobility in a big way, and also in a very focused way. What I liked very much about the NITI Aayog report is a call for action and the call for focus, because the reality is that while the economics on average may be difficult, if you focus on the right use cases, if you take an industry approach, if you take a data-driven approach, you will find those pockets where that make already sense today. Yeah, so this is actually, and we have been working on this approach to basically focus on use cases like around ports, cement industry, steel industry, for FMCG between like plants and warehouses where you have round trips, where you have predictable routes. If you provide that kind of focus, you find that like 30% of today's deployment is already there. Yeah. Now PME drive subsidies will help to kickstart. And obviously, as the report clearly said, it's a way to move from incentives to mandates. All of that will actually pull and move this into the right direction. So we were very happy to see that actually India is taking a big step forward, and I can say the collaboration within the EFAS platform has been absolutely essential in that. I think it's great to have a community like that, an ecosystem where you can change experiences, best practices, but you call on each other in order to take the responsibility and the accountable to move forward together. Because only if we do this, and I think I like the numbers, 10,000 trucks. I think that Sudhindu was talking about. If we look at what we actually came up in concrete deployment cases from those shippers, innovative shippers that we're working with, you get 1,500. So that's already a good number towards that in concrete cases. So we are very actually happy and eager to work with you, to continue on this, and to see action happening on the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those remarks, sir. Moving forward, I'd like to invite Felipe Ramirez. He's the Director of Urban Mobility for WRI Ross Center for Sustainable Cities, to come down and share his thoughts.
Thank you so much. I would like first to to commend these big efforts that has been done in this specific program. And of course, to thank Dr. Hanif Kuneshi for all what's been done here and all your support. And especially also Mr. Sudendu, because this has been possible because of all your support and of course, we are advancing quite fast. Let me share with you a little bit of what is happening around the world in this sense and to show you how big this effort is. We launched with WRI another eFast, as Pawan mentioned at the beginning, with Brazil. This is how important this program in India has been and how inspiring it is, because it has shown the path in many other places in order to be able to accelerate our transformation, our transition to decarbonization, especially in this specific topic, which is freight. As you know, in many places, in terms of emissions, freight accounts for between 40 to 50% of the emissions. And that means that we need to move faster in that sense to decarbonize these places. Specifically in Latin America, since I'm from Latin America and I wanted to share a little bit of that to you, we have the big challenge of understanding that there are two big problematics, and this will probably resonate with you because it's quite similar to what happens here. We have the big industry, which we need to decarbonize, but then we also have the small owners, as we call them, which are the ones that own one or two trucks, and we also need the transformation, the transition of this specific sector. So how to do that, understanding what Madhav was mentioning, that we also need the transformation in terms of infrastructure, and also understanding that the type of freight, the logistics matters, and that we need to understand how to actually look the whole thing as a holistic problem and to make sure that we are transitioning the right way. So it's not an easy problem. It's not only about decarbonizing and using some batteries in this field, but it's also about understanding the whole thing. That's why this program, where we invite all stakeholders to talk and to have presence and to understand what's happening and to listen to all voices, is so important. That's what eFast is making possible. And I also agree on the fact that we need to move to the contracting now. Because again, as the leaders here in India, what is happening, definitely we need to move there so we keep showing the rest of the world this example of how good this is happening. So that's why I would also like to invite Dr. Hanif, if you can be, actually, we would like you to be the face of this program, because right now we have a global exchange happening, and we want to show even more the experience here in India. So we would love you to be the face of that exchange program that we have, the global exchange, where we want to share with many other places these advances that we are having here and keep the pace in that sense so we can transform many other places in the world in this sense. So thank you so much again for all these efforts, and thank you again for all your support.
Thank you, Felipe. We would now like to invite Shri Prashant Banerjee, the Executive Director of CIAM.
Good morning, everyone. It's a profound privilege and my pleasure to be part of this very esteemed panel. Incredible India's journey of electrification has been incredible. We often say in India, double engine governance, and in front of you, two-phase, two-engine of electrification journey of India is being led by none other than NITI Aayog, Shri Sudhendu Sinha ji, and MHI Additional Secretary Dr. Hanif Kureshi ji. So let's give a big round of applause to them. India is a large country. Transport is in a concurrent list of constitution, federal structure. Yet, India's achievement in electrification is amazing. Rising, aspiring India, wish to become developed India by 2047. 4% of vehicles contributing to 60% of pollution, and enormous amount of energy. So energy security, GHG reduction, carbon intensity, decarbonization of transportation, cost of ownership, everything you look at, local air pollution mitigation, and of course, the taking a leadership, self-reliant India's goal. I think all fits very well, and eFast, 3rd anniversary, is the place we can celebrate and glorify the achievement of India. We started actually National Electric Mobility Mission Plan very cautiously, without knowing which territory we are entering in. That time, SIAM released a white paper on electrification. We were very clear that two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and perhaps the taxi segment will be the first segment to get into the electrification. And then we never realized, initial first FAME 1, we had actually crossed the freight segment, N2, N3 was a red. And subsequently, as we move forward, the realization happened, the pull, market pull, the technology demonstrations, the innovation engineering solutions. We are very through in three-wheelers, two-wheelers, and car segment. So now the next obvious journey is freight. And in freight, N1 category is already has its own pull. And I am so delighted that what business need is a clarity, stability, consistency of policy, regulation, and standards. And Government of India has given every possible way, all the three, starting with PME Drive, Auto PLI, and now very consultative, accommodative stance of Government of India in hearing the voice of customer, realizing the geopolitical uncertainty, supply chain challenges, everywhere. Dr. Hanif sir and Sundendu sir, I think hats off to both of you that you are helping us in every possible way. And WRI, your support, bringing all stakeholders together. I remember I was in Tata R&D and we were just struggling what to do and how to work. But let's give a big round of applause to Sri Ravi Pandit ji, he is here. We had he started and showcased his Revolo technology. It was a hybrid kind of situation. It was not a pure electric. But it's very important for us to support the ecosystem, startups. And that's where now he's working on hydrogen. But his enormous contribution is an example that everybody needs to be supported. So in FAME 2, then R&D element came in. Then testing and infrastructure is being supported big time in ARAI Natrex facility. So I think we are so happy that eFast third anniversary is giving us a huge confidence. Now we have already companies who are vying for space in freight electrification. Identification has happened in priority corridors. OEMs are ready. It's a matter of time. As Dr. Hanif sir has already said that we have understood where the tweaking needs to be done of policy. Standards are ready. Regulatory framework is in place. And I think customer is looking for a solution. So eFast is a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those remarks, sir. And now we would like to invite Dr. Hanif Qureshi, sir, for his keynote address. Let's put a loud round of applause together for the Additional Secretary at MHI.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I must compliment NITI Aayog and WRI with them for organizing the eFast. And today we are at the third anniversary. It has certainly raised the level of awareness, brought together everyone on a common platform. And this is very important in this kind of a journey. I remember in one of my business communication classes, our professor was talking about communication not being clear. So the boss tells the subordinate and the compliance is not there 100%. So one of the reasons is that why that work is important is not being communicated to him. It is only that you have to do this. So he is like, why I am being asked to do this. So he is with a 50% heart, he'll do it. So I was thinking that when we think about freight, think about electrification, we need to think about why we are talking about this. What is the advantage? Why does it matter? We can continue with the way we are. We have been continuing for so long. And this is where what Philip Ramirez has said, that there is a big industry and there is a small industry. They have different objectives. And when we look at the country, it is such a diverse group, interest groups are there who have their own interests. They have their own, where they want to go in their own directions. But when we think about the objectives, think about the reasons, then we will find that these objectives are somehow converging. And that is a convergence E-fast kind of summits can achieve very easily. Whenever we think about making any scheme in the Government of India, and we talk to all the ministries, we talk to NITI Aayog. So first we decide that why do we want to make this? Because ultimately every scheme requires some expenditure, and for that we have to go to the Ministry of Finance. So they will ask us that why are you doing this? What is the advantage in doing? So I think one of the most important visions which have been set by our Honorable Prime Minister of net zero, and within that net zero, electric vehicles, which the Honorable Prime Minister has several times said that it is a silent revolution. The second is our foreign exchange. There's a lot of POL which we have to import. So that is the second. And then we have the environmental impact. If we talk about only the freight, then only 3% of trucks contribute to about 42 or 43% of the pollution, especially in the cities. That is another one. But then we are not simply looking at increasing the number of electric trucks. Along with the increase, it comes with a condition. And that condition is that these trucks must be domestically made. There has been a lot of imports of electric trucks. In FY 24-25, I think there were about 550 N2 and N3 category trucks which were imported, and they are running. So while that is good, there is nothing wrong with it. But even better would be that when they are made in India. And for that, we must acknowledge the supply chain, how that supply chain can be strengthened. Because the manufacturing has to be sustainable. We have seen the impact of the rare earth magnets, permanent magnets. All of us are thinking how that challenge should be addressed. And several people have come forward, several investments, several modalities are there now. Of course, they will take some time to materialize. But this we realized only after a long time. Many of us could not foresee this maybe 10 years back or 20 years back, when some other countries had realized that. So we have to be very deliberate and very cautious in planning our way forward. And it is not an isolated event that the industry is now thinking about the heavy duty trucks. The push really started in 2014-15 when FAME 1 scheme was launched. There was a lot of focus on buses, charging infrastructure. Then FAME 2, where N1 category was there till 3.5 tons. And a lot of charging infrastructure, 2,000 crore rupees was there. Now we have more than 30,000 charging points in the country. Many of them are slow, but many of them are fast chargers also. And now in the PM E-Drive scheme which was launched last year, we have planned for 72,000 charging stations, which will be supported by the government. Of course, there will be others. These are only the fast charging points. There will be others which will be slow chargers or captive chargers. A lot of charging happens in captive places. N1 was already there in FAME 2, and light commercial vehicles were supported, and a good number of light commercial vehicles were supported in FAME 2. So as Sinha sir said that we did not think about the heavy duty trucks earlier, but now we are thinking about them. And the N2 category, we see that the tonnage is almost like the electric buses, where we have a substantial experience. But the problem lies in N3, and which is more than 12 tons, 12 to 55 tons. So how to improve our manufacturing capability is one, but manufacturers also need markets. Some people have to buy the trucks also. And for that, we have to look at the economic and the viable operation of trucks. So along with the industry, we have been speaking to the user groups and considering that this is a nascent sector, initially, I mean, I do not know, we do not think that very long distance movement will be possible in the initial phases. But certainly there are pockets, there are use cases where electric trucks will be viable and they will have a positive TCO. So ports, steel, cement, or in logistics, certain OD pairs which Morth has identified, about 60 high density corridors have been identified. So those are the places where viability of trucks can be there. And certainly those subsidies are there in this pilot scheme, which has about 500 crore rupees for about 5,643 trucks. Their target to be supported with this pilot fund. But apart from subsidies, there are lot many other challenges which are there. And one of them is, of course, financing, which Mahathir said, that is certainly there. But even with financing, you will have the bottleneck of charging infrastructure. And we have been talking to Ministry of Power, Dheeraj is here. They have come out with very beautiful guidelines of charging stations, which are now notified, and standardization is there, easy to follow for everyone. And they have also published the battery swapping guidelines for the performance and safety of battery swapping stations. So that is an area where now it is open to the industry, how you can take advantage of it. So that base standardization has been set where charging stations can be established. And we have a huge 2,000 crore rupees set in the PM E-Drive scheme for charging stations. And we are also planning to include, rather we have included the battery swapping stations also when we support the charging stations. In fact, next week we are having an interministerial meeting where we will finalize these guidelines, and we hope that this will go out in the open after a couple of days of that meeting. Once the charging infrastructure is there, I think that in itself will give a lot of confidence to users and manufacturers that this is a viable, these are viable kind of projects. Then regarding financing, it is certainly a major area. We recently had a meeting with the Department of Financial Services where all the banks, SIDBI, NABARD, all of them were there. And we have made some kind of a draft paper where we think how de-risking can be done, what kind of financial instruments can be made, and what policy support can the Government of India provide in terms of financial, also non-financial support, what all can be provided. So I think Sudhendu sir is also leading one such group, and we are meeting next week. So we are hopeful that some way will come out of it. Financing is already there, but the only thing is that we have to make it more affordable. The tenors are shorter, the interest rates are higher. In the buses, to a certain extent, the problem has been solved to a great extent. In this 10,900 buses tender which sir talked about, one bus roughly cost about, say, 1 crore rupees. And over the course of its 10 to 12 years, another 4 crores for the operation and maintenance, so 5 crores. So 55,000 crore rupees is required to run these buses, which is the first tranche. Then we will have, there are about 14,000 buses in this scheme. So we'll have another 4,000 or 4,500 buses. So this is a huge amount. And from where and how to get it, how to repay it, those are the, those are the challenges which lie ahead of us. That must be done. And all this is possible at such forums where industry can communicate to us and everyone can communicate. Particularly, the industry's inputs are always extremely important to the making of policies. And I must compliment Prashant, who is here, who has been the voice of the industry. With the recent challenge of rare earths, the manufacturing of all electric vehicles is likely to be affected, particularly the heavy duty trucks. And now we are in the process of, easing the requirements of indigenization. Because what we think is that indigenization is certainly required, but what level of indigenization? It should not be too difficult that it is, almost impossible to manufacture to those specifications. But it cannot be so easy that you just import components and have a CKD and manufacture it here. So there has to be a certain amount of sweet spot which you have to find. And for that, SIAM and the industry, I'm really grateful to them that with all the details, they are able to articulate this and these find place in our policies. So I think the future looks very bright for electric vehicles in general, but the heavy duty trucks in particular.